Hi, good evening, folks. How are you doing? And I'm doing a Q&A after a while. We did many webinars, but they were more expert oriented. So, um, let's wait for a few more people to join in. Great. So what we're going to do is, if you have a question, raise your hand. I will call your name and you can turn your video on, unmute yourself and ask me the question, right? I think there's some issue with my network. Cool. So who wants to go first? Anyone? No questions? This is your chance to ask me stuff, okay? Because there's a lot of stuff that keeps going on WhatsApp, and I know I'm not able to answer all of it. And which is why I do these sessions. So anything that's going on in your mind, you can ask me, and I, can answer in person. So don't be shy. And if you like, you can even pop in your question on chat. Meanwhile, I keep adding people as they join in.
Hi, Supriya. Nishreen here.
Hi.
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear
Yeah,
you, but I
yeah.
can't see you.
Okay, no, I am not in a condition to show myself.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So my question is, I just today I saw your ad on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and I just joined today. So can you give the glance of like what exactly the motivation is behind the group and what exactly you are going to teach or something like that? Just a glance.
So,
It would be helpful. Yeah.
sure, I think that's actually a question that keeps getting asked a lot again in the WhatsApp group. So that's a good starting point. Um, okay, so maybe I'll also give a little bit of an introduction about myself. Um, so I'm Supriya. I've been doing content and communication for almost 15, 16 years now, and 12 of which have been very, very focused on content. So in 2015, I started my own business and it was an agency with two other partners and we did everything end to end marketing. Then 2018, I decided to only branch out on content and focus on doing writing because that's where, that's my sweet spot or ikigai. Um, which I love doing, right? So when I started that out in 2018, I was very happy to fly solo, and freedom is like a big value for me. So I said, okay, I don't want to build a team. I had already done that. Like in my previous company, we had 40 people by the time I left. So I said, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to get into the operations. I just want to write. So that started, and work kept building up. Till in 2021, it built up so much that I couldn't handle volumes and I was actively declining business. Last year, like the 2022 financial year, I said no to 25 lakhs of business. And then I was like, you know what? Why am I leaving this money on the table? Let me find some people that I can outsource this work to. And when I started looking for content writers, I figured that, there aren't enough people who are good or who are at a level where I could comfortably outsource them my work and sort of rest easy knowing that the output that they're going to give me is going to be awesome, right? Um, so I kept looking. I hired people. I, outsourced to freelancers, but nothing seemed to be working out. And that's when someone connected me to Deepak Kanakaraju, um, who had just launched this thing called Alpha Club, and he was uh, sort of saying that we will help you scale your business. And that was the challenge that I was facing that, I couldn't scale my business because I couldn't find the right people. So when I spoke to him about my problem, he said, you know what, why don't you coach people um, and train them to write like you, and that way you can build a pipeline of folks that you can outsource stuff to. And I was like, but you know, I don't know if there's a market for this kind of thing. Like, why would people want to learn from me? But he said, you know what, give it a try. Um, and then I started thinking, you know, if somebody is in a position where, and I did a bit of like, I asked a few people questions, and I figured that most people are floating in that bucket of between 0 to 2 rupees a word kind of a thing, like a very bottom of the pyramid stuff. And I started thinking, what is it that I could offer to people? And because the folks I want to outsource things to will not come cheap, right? If I charge 20 to 40 rupees a word, I'm at least going to find people who charge 5 to 10 rupees a word to, you know, expect some sort of quality, which then I can edit and send to my clients. So then I said, okay, let me try this out to create a course. This is a 30-day free email course that you might have signed up for, where let me explore what people. So this is not a course to teach you the basics of content writing. Okay, this is not a course to teach you English or any other language. It is a course to tell you what does it take, you know, to become a highly paid content writer, and what are the things that you should focus on, right? And some of them are very simple, very logical, but a lot of time people are not able to do this, right? That how do you focus on quality over quantity, right? How you should not just chase random things, and um, rather focus on really, really upskilling and improving your capability so that people are willing to pay you more. What are the kind of things that clients expect from you that you really need to start delivering on? Um, and in fact, yesterday I was having this conversation with a client of mine, and he said, you know what, Supriya, I have, in the past year alone, he has worked with 25 different content writers. And he said, you and one more are the only two people I consistently send work to. And only when I say no more, please, then he sends it out to the other person as well, right? So those are the kind of nuances I wanted to bring out in the course, and that's what a 30-day email course covers. But it's a very good course. It has literally everything that you need to know to get into the highly paid club. But it's also like, it's not a shortcut, because you can't do the course and become, a content writer overnight. You've got to practice. You've got to, like, what I'm saying in the course, you have to actually put it in practice. You have to go find clients. You've got to show them your worth, and then business will come rolling in, right? So it's not a course. I will teach you how to find clients, etc., in one or two of those emails. How do you price your stuff? But I'm a strong believer in not spoon feeding people. So I'll tell you the ropes, but you've got to like do them yourself. So that's essentially what it is. And then of course I know, because it's an email course, people will have questions. So that's why I do these Q&As that you can ask me uh, what you like, and I'm happy to answer those. But effectively, not so much in brief. This is what it's all about. So I hope I answered that question.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
So,
One
some,
more question.
yeah.
Like I read on WhatsApp, like somebody was not a content writer. So will this course helpful to them as well, or it is only for those content writer who have already like begin, or like at some point of time they are like writing or something like that?
So this um course does like though it covers like everything from fundamentals, because honestly writing is very simple. So it covers those basic questions that people might have to get started as a content writer. But um it's not like a you know it's not like a step by step kind of a thing, right? But that said, people who join my 8-week cohort, the personal mentorship one, there have been few of them who've never done content writing before. In fact, the example I shared in the WhatsApp group yesterday, and I don't know if you were there yesterday in the group or not, But like one of the people who joined, Sai Sudha, her name is, I don't know if she's on this call. When she joined my cohort, she had never written content professionally, right? But she came in, she hustled, she followed up, she followed through, she literally implemented everything that I was talking about in the 30-day course and in the 8-week cohort. And today she has a standing retainer with me of 50,000 plus, 52,500 exactly, that I pay her every month to, do certain things. So it's possible to, go over the course and, level up enough to start making big money, even if you haven't done content writing before. Does
Thank you
that
so much.
help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions in the chat. Arisha is asking, is it mandatory to have a portfolio prepared before starting to work as a content writer? Yes. Because every time you're going to reach out to a client, they're going to ask, can I see some samples of your work? And so you have to have something that you can send over to them. But that said, I also understand that as new writers, you may not have any samples of work that you've done for other people to share with your clients. In that case, what you need to do is create some by yourself, right? Pick up any topic of whatever niche that you're trying to uh, make an entry into, write articles or blogs or social media posts or emails around that. What clients want to see is, do you have a command over the language? Do you have command over storytelling? Can you write content in a nice logical flow and narrative? Is your content engaging enough? And how much money should we pay you based on the quality of your writing? That's effectively what they're trying to judge. So if you've not written for other clients, you can definitely create your own portfolio based on topics that you choose for yourself and show them, this is what it is. So I hope that answered your question. Okay. Another question from Nikita is, she's a freelance content writer with a decade of experience. And okay, should I continue as a freelancer, shift to a full-time job? How to get clients? Okay. So, there are different dispositions suited for different things, right? There are some, and that is something you will have to think through for yourself. There are some people who are very happy in a full-time job because that gives them a certainty of income every month, right? That no matter what you do, there is a fixed amount that's coming into your bank account every month, and that is also important, right? Um, so for some people, that's really, and the work environment is of course very structured. You know what is coming on your plate every day. You have a set fixed time to work. There might be ups and downs. Some days you'll work more, some days you'll work less, but that certainty and security is there, right? So that makes people, there are some people who, are tilting towards that, and that's awesome, right? Uh, and I have many friends, and I keep telling them, why are you stuck in this job? Why don't you like quit and start your own thing? But they don't want to because they're making good money. Um, they have the structure, they have the security, and they're settled, right? And then there are some people like me who don't do very well with that structure, right? We want to do things our way, in our own time, at our own convenience. We want to take time off when it feels like it. We want to, say no to work when it's not something that we would enjoy doing. And those are the people more suited for freelancing. But it comes with its own risks, right? Sometimes you get a lot of business because it's cyclical, right? So sometimes you might get a lot of business, sometimes you won't, like you'll have a dry period, nothing for like a month or so. So you've got to learn to deal with that financial insecurity. You've also got to learn a lot of other skills other than just making money. You've also got to learn how to grow that money, right? Once you've earned that money, how do you use it to make sure that those 2 months you might not get any income, you still have bills to pay, right? So there are certain people whom that lifestyle really works because we're like, okay, fine. For instance, now again in September, I'm off for a week. my son decided he wants to take a holiday. So I said, fine, let's do a holiday. Um, and so I'm not working for a week. But that's a luxury you won't get in a corporate setup because you can't just pack your bags and leave anytime that you want. Um, but that's a luxury that I can afford because I can tell my clients, listen, I'm not available, don't send me any work this time. But that means I lost that money which would have come in had I worked that 1 week, right? So that is a matter of disposition, whether you want to go freelance or whether you want to take a job, and both have really good opportunities, right? Of course, in terms of a job, you might be limited to a certain salary, and in freelance, you can really scale. Uh, but it also is limiting from a standpoint that how much it's also depending on your speed, right? One is how many clients you can find or how much business can certain clients give you, and also how much of that business can you deliver, right? I mean, I believe I write really fast, but even then, like my cognitive load is just 20 articles a month, right? I can't do more than that because then the quality suffers the more you try to, push yourself and write more. So for 20 articles, even if I charge 30,000 per article, my income is limited to that number versus, um, you know, and if I'm slow or if I'm only doing 10 articles, then my income goes even lesser, right? So your speed, your efficiency, your ability to find clients, all of that will determine how well you can establish yourself as a business or as a freelancer who's actually making money, right? Now, sorry, I'm used to giving long-winded answers, but I want to explain why I'm saying what I'm saying, right? So, so think through it and decide whether you want a job or whether you want to be a freelancer. Then I'll come to the second part of your question, which is how do you find clients, right? You mentioned that you've been rejected many times. Have you reached out to those clients and asked, why haven't you chosen me, right? Not everyone will answer, but some might, right? They'll tell you what were some of the reasons that didn't work. And then you need to work on those areas before pitching to someone else. Because I know for a fact that companies are desperate for good content writers. Literally, I get clients calls every other day. Supriya, koi writer hai to bata do. Like, find us some writers. They want to hire people. They want to engage freelancers. They just want someone. This content is everywhere, right? They want content for everything that they're doing in terms of marketing, but they don't have people to write it. And literally, I just have 7 clients, and they're struggling to still get like a lot of volume of work done by good people. So it's not that there is no business. There is some gap that you need to fill to be able to tap into that business. And that's only going to happen when you're courageous enough to take feedback from clients and ask them why it didn't work. Sometimes they will tell you that your writing was not good enough. But then you've got to take that feedback and you've got to work on it, right? What is it I can do better? Um, and that's a work in progress that takes time. But if you do that consistently, I'm sure you will be able to tap into a market that gives you like good returns for the effort that you put in. So I hope that answered your question, Nikita.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Um, okay, Nidhi is asking, how do I join the 8-week cohort? So Nidhi, the current one is going on. I'm gonna do the next one, I guess, in September, and I'll, send an email and um, put some notice on WhatsApp. I'm doing another webinar on 5th, and I probably will announce the cohort then, so you can join that. Or do you know Fahim? I don't know if he's here on the call, but you could reach out to Fahim and he can give you all the details of that. Do you also teach about how to do research before writing any piece of content? Yes, so in the 30-day module, there is one email about researching. And of course, in the 8-week cohort, there is a whole module on how do you research. Plus, I also show people how I write, In fact, the last call that we did day before for the cohort, I showed them like how do I research and write and think about an article and how do I tell stories. So I think that really gets people the idea of how these things shape up, right? Okay, this is a very logistical question. And so Shehbaz is asking, what is the standard size and font for heading, subheading, and body? Um, don't bother about it. First, figure out the quality. But I will also say that, like for me, because I'm also an editor, it is very like a quirk of mine that I want everything in Arial uh, font, and the headings have to be 20 point, subheadings have to be 14 point, and body has to be 11 or 12 point. That's like my personal quirk. I don't know what your clients might want. Okay. Ashwati is also asking when you would the mentorship open. September 5th, I'm doing a webinar. I'll explain to you what it is all about, and I will tell you where you can sign up. What would an ideal article look like from start to the end? Okay, this is an interesting question. So ideal article is what keeps the reader engaged from the start to the finish, right? People shouldn't find reading a chore. Like they shouldn't be reading it because they have to. They should be reading it because they want to, and that is the only sign of a good article. Uh, if you're asking from a structuring standpoint, it's very simple. I know there are people out there who will give you 6-step framework, 10-step framework to structuring it, but essentially it's just like give them context, which is the introduction, that why the hell are you even reading this article, or why was this article written? What's the purpose of this? Then tell them what you want to talk about, which is your main body, and then give them a conclusion, which tells them something interesting. And it's not a summary of the whole thing, but it's like something that they can act on or something that they can think about. And that's effectively what a good article is. Okay, so I think now I'm going to pause the chat questions and see if any one of you wants to like ask the question in person. Just maybe raise your hands or unmute yourself and ask a question. Wow, no one. Fine, I'll go back to chat. Guys, if you are so shy, how are you going to have client conversations? Okay. Some clients ask for publish links. Where are there any good platforms where we can publish and showcase the same as samples? See, you can always like write blogs on Medium or do like a WordPress blog and just give that to them. But there are some media articles which also accept, like media publications which also accept submissions. But that totally depends on the niche you are in, right? So for example, like a very easy one is Women's Web or Momspresso or these parenting portals. So if you're into like lifestyle, parenting, those kind of topics, you can always write to these folks, and chances are that they will publish whatever you've written, and then you can have that link. Even BuzzFeed does some stuff, but it totally depends on the niche. It's also very easy to, like go online and search for magazines or online publications in your niche and go and find if they have any write for us or submission kind of guidelines. And then you can follow that process to get your article published. Would you recommend any books to learn travel writing? No. What I would say is read more travel writing, read good travel writing. Don't read one of those tiny travel websites where they only do SEO blogs. Read good stuff, and that's where you start imbibing how other people write. The influencer folks who really know a lot about travel and who are telling the right stories about travel. Like I love Nat Geo from a travel writing perspective. So read that and then try and sort of get inspired from that writing. I don't think a book is going to help in this case. Okay, and should a niche be based on educational background only, or can it be anything that one is passionate about? It can be anything really. But that said, you've got to be good in your niche. Otherwise, there's no point in pursuing a niche. And especially if you're starting out, don't like stress about niche so much. Explore 2, 3 areas, see what comes naturally and easily to you. Think about it, right? If you choose a niche, you've got to write about it day in and day out. And at some point, it could get exhausting. So don't like shut down all the options and say, this is my niche and this is what I'm going to do. Like I write for tech and technically that's my niche, but I also write on coaching. I also write, a lot of random stuff. I write personally on women centric issues and stuff like that, right? So don't box yourself in. Keep your options open. If you have an educational background in something, you are already like some level ahead of other people, but that I think makes a difference in niches which require some expertise, right? Like technology or finance or law. I mean, you can't write about legal stuff without knowing some element of it, because otherwise that inexperience will show. And that's where the price that you can charge will go down. So, uh, you know, getting started from a niche standpoint or figuring out what you want to write is a combination of all these factors, right? What do you know? What do you like? And what are people going to pay you for, right? So when you mix all these, you'll see 2, 3 elements in each of these areas. Whatever overlaps, go for that first, but keep the other options open. Okay. Thanks, Sandhya. Okay. Do you have any Facebook group? No, I have the WhatsApp group and I have an Instagram page. How do I search work as a content writer? How do I search for work as a content writer? So there are various ways to go about it. A lot of people go to Upwork and Fiverr, which I sort of feel is a waste of time because, and this is a favorite example that I give, and I don't know if you've listened to previous Q&As, I might have said this. There's a difference in going to a Sunday vegetable market and let's say a food hall, right? You will haggle for the price of a carrot in the Sunday vegetable market. But in food hall, you might pick up the same bunch of carrots for $200 because it comes in a fancy box, right? And because those are the prices and food hall doesn't negotiate. So when you go to freelancing marketplaces, you're going to the Sunday market and as a vendor, right? And people will come and haggle and they will see which one best fits my criteria for the cheapest price. So that is body shopping, where they just want to get some work done. Yes, there might be some projects which are which have decent value, but those are few and far between, and then there's a lot more competition for those projects. So you will spend a lot more time on just sending pitches for that work and then waiting and seeing whether you got selected or not. And there's also another thing. Clients who pay less will do a lot more nitpicking versus clients who pay more. Okay. So my approach to finding clients is to first start with who do you know? Now, don't tell me I don't know anyone. If you don't know anyone, start knowing them, right? Go on LinkedIn, create a good profile, start reaching out to people, start connecting with people. Don't sell them anything right now. But connect with the right people, okay? Because when a recommendation comes from someone you know, people are more likely to buy from you, okay? And I'll give you an example. I haven't done active business development in the past 3, 4 years, okay? The reason is I haven't had to. Once I start working with a client, they refer me to other people. And if they move companies, they take me along with them, right? Because I've invested time in building that one relationship, which is so good that they want me everywhere. So instead of trying to find clients or content work, try and build those relationships. And that is what is going to really take you forward in as a freelancer. Uh, there, there's so many examples I can give you about relationships, but I'm not going to bore you. Um, so first search from your network. Some people you might have worked with before. Some people you don't know, but somebody you know knows them, right? And then ask for an introduction and then say, hey, you know what? I do this. Would you be interested in working with me? Um, and that happened again very recently for me, where I got entry into a very premium account just because I knew someone who knew someone, and I said, can you introduce me? And they did. And the first project that they sent me was worth 8 lakh rupees. Yeah. So it is relationships make a big, big, big difference. And relationships is not something you will find on Fiverr or Upwork, right? So that's why you've got to go on LinkedIn, right? Or you've got to search through your phone book and see who are the people I know. Or you've got to go to networking events and find folks, um, and not just content writing events, right? Like other marketing events, other industry events. Go there, meet people, talk to them, and then tell them what you do. And anytime then they have a need, they will come back and say, hey, you know what? I met this person. Let me see if they're any good, or can we work together? So money comes with relationships. So focus on two things if you want to be a successful content writer. One is quality, okay? Because relationship will open the door for you. But if you don't deliver on the quality, then the door will close again. So relationship and quality is the only two things that you need to focus on, nothing else, right? And everything that you say, like you're a content writer, right? Um, so people, whether they comment on what you're saying or not, they're always watching. So everything that you write, you've got to put in as much, even if it's a WhatsApp message or even if it's like just a comment on something, you've got to put really like effort into it. Yeah. It's just like a resume, So I've been hiring people for the past 10 years. And anytime a resume comes to me or any one of us, and we see, like, because we hired for content positions, and we're like, oh my God, this person's made like spelling or grammatical errors in their CV. How will they write? Or, how will they churn out quality content for us? And those directly go in the bin, right? So people are always watching for even small, small things. So you've got to be very careful and very meticulous in creating your portfolio and creating your LinkedIn profile and writing anything that you're doing. Yeah. And when you do these hygiene things, then clients will come. Yeah. But like I said, it's a long road. It's not an overnight thing. It's going to take time. It's going to take persistence. It's going to also be disappointments. And I know there are some people from the third cohort here, and I was telling them today, I lost so much business today. So much business today. I was pitching to this client. I was pitching some videos. So till now, I only did scripts. And now I found a partner who does video animation. And I told this client, listen, now I can do end-to-end videos for you, not only scripts. And he's like, okay, how much do you charge? And I said, 10 lakhs for like a 4-minute video. And he said, okay, that's a fair price. So I said, fine, then give me some videos that you might have. And he said, Supriya, this month I had 10 videos and I gave it to another agency, but next month I'll keep you in mind. And I was so upset because if you multiply 10 lakhs with 10, that's like 1 crore. And I missed out on that revenue and I was very sad. So no matter where you are, disappointments happen. But I'm waiting for next month and seeing if this will come my way now. But you've got to reach out. If I had never pitched to that client, he wouldn't even know that I can do the animation part now. And I wouldn't know, if this price point even works for them, right? So these conversations are important. Reaching out to people, understanding what they want. You may not be offering it at that point, but you know that this is a need and you can see, can I find another partner to do this, right? So again, very long-winded answer to a small question. But those are like little bits and pieces that come together. So then clients are willing to give you work and willing to give you work continuously. Okay. Is there an age limit? No, I don't think so. I hope not. Otherwise, I'll be out of the running very soon. Especially it only depends on the quality of writing, I think. Okay. Can I help you find clients? So the very honest, straightforward answer is no. I can tell you how to find clients. What I'm doing for the 8-week cohort is the work that is spilling over from my plate. I am passing that on to people in the cohort. And there is a selfish reason for that. So initially I was passing it on to the larger WhatsApp community, but every time I would like send an assignment, I'd get some 300 samples. And obviously, I mean, I've got to run a business as well, and I can't do that. So which is why I started the mentorship program. And now because there are fewer people in the group, every time I send an assignment, there are 4 or 5 people who are interested, and then I can choose from them and pass on work. Um, um, so yeah, I mean, there is overflow happening there, but I'm not helping anyone find clients as such. Okay. Sonakshi, I didn't understand your question. Can we grab projects to blogs and social media engagements? I don't know what that means. Do you want to unmute yourself and like explain that? Are you there, Sonakshi? We'll come back to this. Okay, Kaushik is asking, should we have a website or just showcasing our content in Instagram pages will do? You know, when I started, I think websites are overrated, honestly. It's just like a lot of time and effort that you will spend in building it. And then if it's not good enough, people are anyway not going to like it. So when I started, I was sending my samples out as attachments to email. Yeah, I didn't have any links. So my take would be anything is good as a sample as long as the quality of that content is impeccable. Yeah. The client doesn't care how you're showcasing your writing skills. They want to know, do you have writing skills? Yeah. So I would say don't run after websites. If you have an Instagram page, great showcases there. But then you're only showcasing Instagram content. Okay. You might want to have some articles or blogs somewhere stashed away, either as Word documents or like a Google Drive link, or maybe put it up on Medium and you can share those with folks. Is it important to learn SEO to become a good content writer? I don't know SEO, so I'll leave you to who's asking this. Yazin. So I don't know SEO at all. Just know that my clients send me keywords and I've got to put them in content in a way that, so I never keyword stuff. And I tell my clients I won't do it also. So they'll send me a list of keywords and I will first write the article. Then I'll see if I can change some phrases to fit that keyword in. If it fits, otherwise I'll say, sorry, not happening. Yeah. So I don't think after a certain point in time, that is so important, especially if you're going after big clients, because they have their own digital teams as well, right? Who are taking care of the SEO part for them. And then they want writers only with expertise in writing. But yes, if you're working with smaller content, smaller agency, they want like a all rolled in one kind of a thing. So they might ask, you know, do you have SEO skills? But I'm sure there are like lots of courses that you can quickly, and it's not that difficult. It's, you know, you can have some basic skills after doing a couple of courses. And you can say, yeah, I know how to do SEO. But I don't think it's like very, very extremely important. Apurva is asking, how do I start working as a content writer? Because I'm a fresher and I don't know how to start. So there is a webinar I did, and the link is there in the WhatsApp group. There's a sheet there, right? So if you go to the YouTube channel, there's a link to that webinar. And that webinar is how to get started as a content writer. Okay, and I outlined 3 things there, which is step by step, how do you get started? Please go watch that because I've already explained that in a lot of detail. And Fahim, if you're here, if you can send that link into the chat window, that'll also be awesome. Okay. Ishfaq is the poet, but he wants to shift to content writing. Okay, so there is no, like, they're mutually exclusive, right? You can be a poet and a content writer at the same time. You don't have to stop writing poetry just to start content writing. And again, the answer lies in the same webinar that I was just mentioning. Go over it first. And if you still have questions, I'll keep doing, there is another session on 2nd, there's another session on 5th. So you can join those sessions and ask me this question again if you still have that doubt. Yeah. Cool. Peta is asking, I'm writing a 500-word story for a client. How much should I charge for it? So there is an email in the 30-day course. It's about pricing. Go over it. So you'll get better clarity. Pricing depends mainly on two things. One is the quality that you deliver, and second is the propensity or the ability for the client to pay. Okay. So if you go to a small time company and say that I want to charge 10,000 bucks for a 500-word story, they're going to say, sorry, not happening. Right. So maybe like 2,500, 3,000 might be a good number. For some people, I know that also is very high because it also depends, like, which are the clients that you're reaching out to, because they might be looking for someone who's charging less than 1 rupee a word, and then this pricing doesn't match. So you've got to understand what is it that your client is willing to pay. I recently did a video script for 500 words or slightly more, 600 words, and I charged 70,000 for it. So, because I knew the client could pay, right? So it is quality, confidence. That's the third element to, like, really say this is how much I want. A lot of people, a lot of time also get scared of asking for money, right? So that's another thing that you need to get over. But the quality, confidence, and understanding the client. Do they have this much money, right? So like this client that I was mentioning, if I said 10 lakhs for a video, I knew that they could pay, right? But if I go to a small time company and I say, I'm charging 10 lakhs for a video, they'll say, I can pay you 30,000, right? So it varies. But I would say 2,500 would be a good price point. Okay. Sarva Kumar is asking, can we work as interns? Well, not with me, but there are a lot of these internship platforms that you can definitely reach out. I've heard Internshala is good. I've hired 2 interns from there a couple of times. So yeah, but again, what you should answer is, why do you want to work as an intern, right? Do you want to convert that internship into a job later? Then why not just simply apply for a job to begin with? Or do you want to gain experience in writing so that you can do freelance, but then you can straight away start reaching out to clients and see how that goes? So first figure out what's your motivation, because internship is mostly either like really badly paid work or like non-paid work. So do you want to do that is the question. Nikita is asking how AI has revolutionized and affected the content business. Is it helpful? Okay, this is very interesting. This is what we were talking about this Tuesday on the 8-week cohort. AI is amazing. I use it now since ChatGPT has come to accelerate my writing. And now I'm able to like churn out, let's say, 1,000-word article in 3 hours. Of course, I don't copy anything from AI. And if I use AI to do research or to find stories or examples, then any content piece that I use AI, like even for research, I run it past paid, AI checkers to see if, any content that I've written, is it getting flagged for AI content or not? So if you do decide to use it, you've got to be careful and honest as well, right? That ultimately the content piece should be original. It has also resulted in some clients saying, like pulling back some work, which is the drudgery, which is like those things which they need done, they don't want to do themselves. So they have been outsourcing like a couple of social media posts or maybe small emails or maybe like just like a couple of paragraphs or something that they might need. So that they want to do in-house now, because obviously why pay a content writer when they can, take a $20 a month subscription to ChatGPT and just create it themselves. So that rollback has happened, right? And that's why it's very important for uh, people wanting to be content writers to like upskill in those areas that I've mentioned in the 30-day course, right? Because if you're writing just general content, right, and expecting to find work, it's going to be very difficult in the next 2 years, because AI models are only going to improve, right? But if you're able to tell the right stories, if you're able to, put across the right perspective, if you're able to come up with brilliant messaging, then you will be indispensable to companies, and companies will pay you more because they are saving money in all those little tiny things that they were wasting money in earlier, right? So this is really the time to level up your game if you want to enter the highly paid writers club. Uh, uh, I worked as a full stack content writer. My blogs are ranking for them. Now, how do I move to a higher scale where I can portray the skills in content writing? Okay, so um, Dhanya, are you working as a full-time writer? Do you want to get into freelance? If you want to get into freelance, you've got to create a portfolio, right? A portfolio that shows who you are, why you're so good at your work, some samples of your work, how you've made these blogs rank for these people, and then start sending it out to other people who do similar kind of work, right? So let's say you're working with a travel company, and this is the work you've done for them. Find other travel companies who would write blogs, or maybe lifestyle companies or spirituality companies, and who write blogs very often and say, hey, you know what, this is what I did, and here's how awesome it turned out for the client, and I can do the same for your business. Would you be open to having a chat, right? So that's the kind of outreach you need to start. If you start sending, let's say, 10, 15 emails a day, you might get 1 or 2 responses daily, right? And if you start getting those responses in a month, it's very likely that you can convert 2 or 3 clients. And trust me, if you get the right clients, with 3 clients, you can easily make like 1 to 1.5 lakh rupees a month. Yeah. And I was giving this example in my mentorship program also, that I have a client who I do social media posts for and run a couple of ads. And we only do like some 9 or 10 social media posts in a month, and he pays me 50,000 rupees a month with ad spend extra. So I don't use that money to spend on ads. That's only to create the post, right? And he's not even a company, it's like an individual. So people do have the money, people are willing to spend the money. You've just got to go and find them and show them your value. Um, Mahesh is asking, how do you come to terms with different writing styles from your clients and the expectations around it? The initial rejection and getting it down to the aha moment. Okay. That's a good question, actually. And that will happen quite a bit, right? Especially if you're working for a new client, because you're getting used to their voice. Once you've started writing for a person and you've written for them for many months, you sort of get into the flow, and every time that comes in, you're like, fine, this is how it's written. But what I try and do, because, writing is shouldn't be, so the days where writing used to be academic are gone. Okay. Today, writing needs to be conversational. Like when you read a piece, it should feel like that the person is talking to you. So when you read my 30-day emails, it comes across as my voice, right? And that's what clients want. So whenever I get an assignment, I try and ask them for samples of work that, the client might have already published for this particular person, or if they're spoken at any event, or can I get a briefing call with them, right? So when I hear their voice, um, any piece that I write, I will read it out in their voice, like by myself, right? And Mahesh, you might have noticed in the H3 cohort, when I type also, I keep reading, like I keep reading it because I want to see, is this statement or is this word um, feeling natural in that person's voice, right? Because there are some people who will absolutely not say certain things because it's just not them, right? So understanding that voice, spending time knowing that voice in your head, and then reading it or whatever you've written in that voice will go a long way in figuring out different writing styles. Yeah. And that happens to me, like when I write for my coaching clients, it's a whole different voice. When I write for my tech clients, it's a very different voice. Then some tech clients are very, they want those fancy words and longer statements. There are some who want more conversational tone. And then I write for myself, which is, a whole different language altogether. Uh, but that voice that talks in your head, in their voice, is really important. Um, so rejection hurts every time. Like whenever a client says, "Can you change this word or can you change this sentence?" Even now, after like so many years of doing this, it's like, "What is this perfect? Why do you want to change it?" Um, so I also and this is a cultivated skill, okay, that you have to disassociate yourself uh, from the output, because it's not your output, it's their output. And again, this happened to me yesterday. I written a video script about India. It was a perfect script, brilliant, and if it had become a video, it would be fantastic. But the client is they want to add like a whole research report into it, and I'm like, people will get bored. The video is already 7 minutes long. You can't, keep adding stuff to it. So those contentions will also happen, but sometimes we're like, what? They know what they want. So let me just try and fit it in. I still leave my comments and say that this is possible, this is not. So they're also looking at you for guidance, right? They want you to tell them what might work, what might not work. But yeah, like that dissonance, that this is their content piece and let me try and do the best in terms of what they want, is really important. And again, happened today. I done a landing page for a client who were doing an event because they wanted urgently. They wanted it like by Tuesday, so I sent it over. 2 days later, now they've changed the whole theme for the event. So I'm like, okay, but you wanted this before. So those things, it's like a part of life. You also have to, and that, like, I'm going in a tangent here, but you also got to protect yourself here because clients will change their mind very often. So anytime there's like a more than 30% change in an iteration, more than 70% change in a brief, I tell people I'm going to bill it as a fresh asset. So I'll bill you what I did before because you said do this, but I'll also bill you for this new one because you changed your mind and that's not my problem. So those are some things. Okay, next question. I find it easier to write fresh content than having to clean up paraphrase. Okay, so we are on the same page because I also prefer writing fresh stuff than cleaning up. So usually I don't take editing jobs at all because I know I'll end up rewriting it. But there is a difference in this question that you're asking, right? So there is like a fresh writing and then there's a fresh insight. So you've got to use the insights that they're giving you. The main messages have to stay, right? But the way you write it could be different as long as it matches their voice. Yeah. So we can't put our messages into what they want to say because ultimately it's their piece. So messages stay intact. Writing can change as long as it's their voice. Yeah. Hey, how do I, Yami's asking, how do I identify if I'm working for a genuine client? Okay. So usually ask them for email approvals. If possible, send over a contract and ask them to send a signed version. And ask for advance, payment advance. So like I charge 40% advance, like for longer projects, it's 40, 40, 20. Or in certain cases, like the clients will just raise a PO. If you're working with big companies, that's a big security, right? Because they will issue an PO and things become easier. But try and get email approvals, keep all that documentation safe because you might want to chase them after. But that said, yes, there are bad eggs everywhere. And 5% of your revenue as bad debt is quite possible, right? And we hear horror stories every day about how clients got hundreds of blogs written but didn't pay people. So don't do that. Like, don't do a lot of work till they haven't paid you for the previous one, right? Um, and I know it's a tricky situation to be in because they'll just go to some other writer. But then you have to look at it this way: if they're genuine, they will pay you for the work you've done, and then they'll understand that yes, you need that happening. Another advantage, and I don't know if that's possible for you to do, is get a MSME registration. Okay. And this happened to me last year. I worked for a client. It was not a big amount, it was some 50,000 bucks. And I chased them for the invoice for almost a year, right? Because my CA said, you've got to get this money. We've raised it. I'm a private limited company, okay? So I have to, like, I can't have this, such a theek hai, chhod do, koi baat nahi. So I've got to show my auditors why this money didn't come in, or where is this money, or what is happening with this. All those questions also come, right? So I was trying to tell my CA, ki, let's just chuck it. Abhi, who's like, you're wasting more time following up with this person than getting that 50,000. And then he told me, call them and tell them that the year is ending now. So we have to do our filing. And we have to tell them that this money didn't show up. So this will go to MSME tribunal. Okay. So I said, okay, I called this client up and I said, this is what it is. By evening, same day, the money was in my account. Right. So if possible, try and get that. I don't know how exactly the process works because I used the CA to do it. But if you're really serious about content writing as a business, then it's no harm in like getting those safeguards in place. Okay. Samples, recommendations, which could be helpful to grab the attention. Milan, I didn't understand that question. Do you want to unmute yourself and explain that to me? Okay, so I'm moving to the next question. So Nakshi is asking how to pitch a great email to a client. I think it's very simple as long as you understand that when you're pitching something, it's not about you, it's about the client. Nobody cares what you do, they care what you can do for them, right? So as long as you're writing an email which is solving a client's problem, which is telling them, hey, you know what, this is a problem and I can solve it for you, people will be interested. If you tell them, hey, I'm so and so, I have so many years of experience, this is what I've done, this is what I do, blah, 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 nobody cares. We get so many emails in our inbox every day, right? So make it interesting, get them to take notice and make it about them. And if you write an email like that, people are more likely to respond. Yami is asking, in addition to writing, what other skills are required in the content writing industry? That's also a good question. So again, there are two different things. If you're in a job, then writing is great. That's all you need. If you're working as a freelancer, you need to have a lot of other things going as well, right? You need to know how to manage your operations. You need to know, like, for example, if 5 freelancers sent you work today, how are you going to manage delivery, and how you're going to raise invoices, and you've got to have some sort of financial management for that as well. And like somebody was asking, for smaller clients, if you're working with them, they might need a package deal. So you can tell them, I can do, SEO for you as well, along with the content. I could run ads with you along with social posts, those kind of things. But you don't have to do all of it themselves, like yourself. Like, for example, what I do is, if my client wants a website, I will tell them, yes, I can do an end-to-end website for you, but I will do the content, and I have a partner who can do the design and development, right? So that's their expertise is website design and development. So I leave that to them. Similarly, this video thing, I will do the script. I have a partner who's amazing at doing videos, so I pass the video stuff to them. And you sort of build an ecosystem of necessary skills so you can enhance your value proposition to a client, because in isolation you can only grow so much. Only when you start building this network, and this community is a great place to start building that network, then you'll be able to offer a lot more to your clients as well, right? Kaushik is asking, do you cold email new clients from time to time, or are you okay with existing clients? I've never done a cold email in my life for myself. I only work on relationships. I only reach out to people I know, or I have met them in some capacity. And I'm perfectly okay with my existing clients, because, like, touch wood, right now my problem is that I have too much work and not enough people to do it, right? So there's no point in finding new clients if I'm not able to deliver. And plus also, work-life balance is very important to me, right? So I work like 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I take these weeks off. So I don't have much time to work also. And therefore, from a business development side, I've been very laid back. And it's my belief that cold emails don't work as well as relationships, right? So I would rather engage with a person on LinkedIn, meet them somewhere, at an event maybe, connect with them on social media, have a conversation with them, tell them what I like about what they do, and then say, hey, you know what, I saw you were doing this. Do you also want, like, I also do this. Do you want me to, like, help you out or something? And that's how things start, right? Like this video one, because I only do content for this client, I called him and I said, you know what, do you guys do videos? And what are you paying your video agency currently? And this is what I can do for you. And so he's like, okay, fine, I'm giving you some videos next month. So that's how you get more business from the same client, because it's easier to expand revenues from a client who already knows and trusts you than chasing 20 different clients where you have to spend time in building the relationship and building that trust. And that also takes time. It's not very transactional. You've got to, like, invest some mind space into it. Okay, so Yasin is asking, I was a content writer for a tech company. All I did was find similar articles and rewrite it. They didn't like it and threw me out. How do I write completely fresh content? Okay, so this is an interesting thing, because the fresh content, one, comes from the subject expert, right? And two, it comes from storytelling. Because let's say, for example, in tech, everybody is writing about automation and everybody is writing about AI, right? So the base content doesn't change. It's always the same. How many times can you see the same thing? So all my tech clients want to, for example, write Gen AI recently. And I also some articles to 4-5 people, okay? And literally every article came back with Chat GPT saw like millions of users signing up in like just a few months, whereas Facebook took so long. Literally every article had it. I'm like, what is this? Like, so you've got to build that discernment, right? Once an information is said many times, it just becomes public knowledge. And if you harp on that in your article, it'll be boring and people would not be interested in it. So you can reference it, but don't, like, spend a lot of time in writing it. What you should spend time in writing a fresh content is the story, right? How does this tech impact something? Or is there a case study? Is there a use case? Can you make up an imaginary scenario of how somebody might be facing a problem and this technology solves it for them? So when you do that, right, that becomes more of an original and more of a fresh content, which is more engaging. The other thing is also about asking the right questions. Yeah. So if there is something happening and everybody is taking one opinion about it, can you take a twist, right? Can you talk about it in a whole different context? But that comes with building an expertise in that area, right? If you don't know tech well enough, you can't create an original opinion from there. I've been doing it for 15, 16 years, so I can, like, I know almost as much as those subject experts, and therefore, I have that original opinion, right? Or you need to get to a subject expert and ask them, or maybe do like a primary research. I think one of the people in my content cohort did that. I sent them an article to write about generative AI in banking, and they knew someone in wealth management. So they called them up and I said, hey, how are you using it? Right. So that was like very fresh content, right? Nobody had interviewed that person, right? So those are some ways that you can create fresh content. What is ghostwriting and how is it done? Anything that you write for other people is ghostwriting, where your name doesn't show up in the byline. So all this content writing that we're talking about, that is ghostwriting. Is there a single definition of content writing for blogs? Some ask for SEO, some for full stack, some for WordPress knowledge. So which view is right and which is like I said, I only stick to the content part of it. I don't do any of this SEO, full stack, WordPress, nothing, right? My job is to write the content and give it to them. And like I said, this also depends on who are the clients that you're reaching out to and what is it that you want to do, right? If you and I'll give an example of when I was trying. So just before the pandemic hit, because I like to talk, I'm sure you guys must have figured that out by now. I started another company which was about corporate training, because I was a corporate trainer in one of my very first roles. So I said, okay, let's do that. And I wanted to do some experiential based training. Unfortunately, then the pandemic happened and on-site training stopped, so that business didn't take off. But when we started reaching out to clients, and we had created like a fantastic module, which was like inspired by MasterChef, and people loved it, right? We did 2, 3 workshops, and people really liked it. But when we started reaching out to clients, everybody had different asks, right? Everybody wanted to take us on board and say, yes, yes, come train for me. But they would say, can you do a sales workshop? Can you do, a mindfulness workshop? Can you do this? Can you do that? And initially, so we had a little bit of discussion on that. Do we meet everything that the client wants to say? Because building a new workshop every time is time consuming, right? It doesn't come easy. Should we invest our time in doing that? Or should we say, this is a module we offer, you take it or you leave it, right? So depending on where you are, what you want to do, I would say, figure out what you want, what you are good at, and say, this is what I offer. If they want another capability, you can, like in this community, find another person who can do that and split the revenues, right? It makes life easier for you as well. So that would be my answer to it. And I know we're like over time, it's late at night. If you have any other questions, maybe I'll take one last one, but that would be it for the day.
Supriya, it's not a question, but just a request. You spoke about links and some sheet or something like that. Could you please send that?
I don't know who you are.
Nishrin,
Listen. Okay,
yeah.
hi. Okay, so Fahim, could you put that in the chat box? Are you a part of the WhatsApp group, Nishrin?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So just
I think group number 2.
okay, so just go to the group description. There is a link there. Click on it. It has all the details.
Okay, ठीक है.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so one more last question is, how do I create a routine for writing? Okay, so that's a bad question for someone like me who doesn't have a routine. If you're just starting out, it makes sense to have a routine, right? Because we're all very distracted nowadays. I mean, it's so much easier to just have WhatsApp conversations or scroll Instagram reels, and you can, spend hours and hours on it. But honestly, I've never, since I started working as a content writer, I haven't really done any work which hasn't been, which doesn't have a goal, right? So if you want to create a routine for writing, first you have to set yourself a goal that, okay, maybe I don't have clients, but if I'm writing, I want to get my articles published, right? Um, and then block out your day. Say, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours a day finding publications which might accept my articles and sending out pitches to them about stories. Then say, okay, I'll block 2 hours in a day to write articles which match those stories. And when the publications get back, I can send them that. And I'll also spend 2 hours a day. This I'm assuming that you are not doing anything full time right now, okay, and that you want to do this. Spending time on LinkedIn, on building my profile, on posting maybe one thing a day which is relevant, which is thought provoking, which is interesting, and connecting with 5-10 people who might give me work at some point in time. So this is how I would divide my day. I don't know what is the quality of your writing. So in those 2 hours that you're taking to actually write, pick out your weak points and say, this is what I need to, figure out. Another thing, which is something which is work in progress, I don't know when it's going to get done. I did realize that, in terms of quality, we do need to pay some attention to English as a language. So we are building a course which is going to be about English, and how do you level up in the language, which is obviously going to be not an expensive one or something. It's just because I think the community really needs it. So we're building it, but I don't know how long that's going to take. We put up an outline and it's like a vast course. So I don't know when that's going to get done, but that is work in progress. You can either do that or you can figure out some courses and like practice writing a little bit every day. But I think 5-6 hours a day in these different chunks should be like good to really scale up very quickly. If you have less time, of course, even 2 hours a day is good enough. Spend 1 hour writing, half hour trying to reach out. Totally depends on what other commitments you have in a day. Cool. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining in. It was lovely chatting with you all, though I did all the talking. But I will see you again, hopefully soon. And there's a webinar on 2nd, there's a webinar on 5th, and we'll be talking some very interesting stuff. So I'll see you then. Thank you and have a good night. Bye-bye.